One spring morning, many years ago, two boys had been prospecting for gold along Coho Creek in southeastern Alaska's Kupreanof Island. And as they emerged from a forest of spruce and hemlock, they froze. No more than 20 paces away in the bog was a huge Alaskan timber wolf caught in one of Trapper George's traps. So the two boys decided to search for her pups, and began to look for incoming tracks that might lead them to her den. Fortunately, there were still a few remaining patches of snow, and after several moments they spotted paw marks on a trail skirting the bog. The tracks led a half-mile through the forest, then continued up a rock-strewn slope. They finally spotted the den at the base of an enormous spruce. There wasn't a sound inside. Wolf pups are shy and cautious, and they didn't have much hope of luring them outside, but they had to try. So they began imitating the high-pitched squeak of a mother wolf calling her young. No response. A few moments later, after they tried another call, 4 tiny pups appeared. They couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. The boys extended their hands, and the pups tentatively suckled at their fingers. Perhaps hunger had overcome their natural fear. One by one, they placed them in a burlap bag and headed back down the slope. When the mother wolf spotted them, she stood erect, possibly picking up the scent of her young. She let out a high-pitched whine. The boys released the pups and they raced to her. Within seconds, they were slurping at her belly. What next? They wondered. The mother wolf was clearly suffering, yet each time they moved in her direction, a menacing growl rumbled in her throat. With her young to protect, she was becoming belligerent. She needs nourishment, one of the boys thought. I have to find her something to eat. Over the next few days, they divided their time between prospecting and trying to win the wolf's trust. They talked gently with her, threw her more venison, and played with her pups. Little by little, they kept inching closer, being careful to remain beyond the length of the chain. The big animal never took her dark eyes off them. Come on, Mother, one of the boys pleaded. You want to go back to your friends on the mountain. Relax. The trapped steel jaws had imprisoned only 2 toes. They were swollen and lacerated, but she wouldn't lose the paw if they could free her. After freeing her, she loped about, favoring the injured paw. They thought that the wolf would now gather her pups and vanish into the woods, but cautiously, she crept towards them. The pups nipped playfully at their mother as they stopped next to the boys. Slowly, she sniffed one of the boy's hands and arms. The wolf began licking the other boy's fingers. I was astonished. This went against everything I'd ever heard about timber wolves, yet strangely it all seemed so natural, said the boy. After a while, with her pups scurrying around her, the mother wolf was ready to leave and began to limp off toward the forest. Then she returned back to the boys, asking them to follow her. They packed their gear and set off. It was an eerie sound ranging from low wails to high-pitched yodeling. At dark, they set up camp next to those pups. At first light, it was time to leave the wolf to her pack. She watched as they assembled their gear and started walking across the meadow, ultimately reaching the far side. The boys looked back. The mother and her pups were sitting where they'd left them, watching them. The boys waved at them, and the mother wolf sent a long, mournful howl into the crisp air. 4 years later, after serving in World War II, the boys, now men, returned to Coho Creek. It was the fall of 1945. After the horrors of the war, it was good to be back among the soaring spruce and breathing the familiar, bracing air of the Alaskan bush. They saw, hanging in the red cedar, where they had placed it 4 years before, the now rusted steel trap that ensnared the mother wolf. The sight of it gave them a strange feeling, and something made them climb Kupreanof Mountain to the meadow where they'd last seen her. Standing on a lofty ledge, they gave out a long, low wolf call, something they'd done many times before. An echo came back across the distance. Again they called, and again the echo reverberated. This time, followed by a wolf call from a ridge about a half-mile away. Far off, they saw a dark shape moving slowly in their direction. As they crossed the meadow, they saw it was a timber wolf. A chill spread through their bodies. "Hello, old girl," one of the men called gently. The wolf edged closer, ears erect, body tense, and stopped a few yards off. Her bushy tail wagged slightly. Moments later, the wolf was gone. They never saw the animal again, but the memory she left them with, vivid, haunting, a little eerie, will always be there. A reminder that there are things in nature that exist outside the laws and understanding of man. During that brief instant in time, this injured animal and the boys had somehow penetrated each other's worlds, bridging barriers that were never meant to be bridged. There are no explanations for experiences like this. We can only accept them, and because they're tinged with an air of mystery and strangeness, perhaps treasure them all the more.